zaslišanja generalnega sveta EURAG.
Welcome to the international conference organized by the Council of EURAG.
Posebna dobrodošlica članom in prijateljem EURAG-a. Želim vam prijetno bivanje v Ljubljani in odnesite veliko dobrih vtisov od našega živahnega mesta.
Warm welcome to all our friends and guests from EURAG, and I wish you a pleasant stay here in our wonderful, charming Ljubljana.
Meni je popolnoma jasno, da že mnogo veste o Sloveniji. Tukaj je bil tudi že bilo že veliko srečanje EURAG-a, mislim, da 2005. Vendar mislim, da niste uspeli videti ali dojeti nekih drobnih karakteristik v Sloveniji, ki jih ni mogoče prebrati v časopisju ali v dnevnih novicah.
I'm pretty sure you know a lot about Slovenia and Ljubljana already. If nothing else, the Council of EURAG was held in 2005, but I would still like to present several pristine and little traits about us.
V nadaljevanju bom vam nekaj teh zanimivosti povedala. Najprej pa dovolite, da lepo pozdravim v naši sredini ministra za zunanje zadeve in podpredsednika Vlade Republike Slovenije, gospoda Kamala Brijavca.
I would like to greet in our midst the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Karel Brijavec.
Lepo pozdravljena in dobrodošla tudi državna sekretarka v Ministrstvu za delo, družino, socialne zadeve in enake možnosti, gospa Martina Vuk.
Also, I would like to greet Ms. Vuk. She's the Secretary of State at the Ministry of Labour, Family, Social Affairs and Equal Opportunities.
Pozdravljen namestnik varuhinje človekovih pravic, gospod Trošek.
Yes. And he's the Deputy Ombudsman of Slovenia.
Pozdravljeni in dobrodošli tudi drugi predstavniki vlade in predstavniki medijev in seveda naša podpredsednica, gospa Vera Pečnik, ki je danes posebno moj pozdrav gre predsedniku in sekretarki EURAG-a, ki bom pozneje povabila, da se mi pridružita tukaj pri usmerjanju naše konference.
And a warm welcome to the representatives of media, of government, and also to the President and the General Secretary of EURAG.
Preden pa preidem na vsebino, se moram toplo zahvaliti obema sponzorja celotnega dogodka, to je Ministrstvo za zunanje zadeve in Mestna občina Ljubljana, ki nam tudi danes nudi te znamenite prostore za konferenco.
But mostly I would like to thank two of our general sponsors that made all this possible. That's the Municipality of Ljubljana, that's already hosting today's venue, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
In zdaj preidimo na Slovenijo.
And now to Slovenia.
No, it will be in English, if you permit me, because we have translation showing here behind. Slovenia is one of the older societies. On a global scale, it's placed on 20th place with 23.5% of the population aged 60 plus, and on 45th place in relation to GDP per capita. Other features of social and macroeconomic nature are such as speciality of a small country, which with the change of political systems and economic policies devolved to a market capitalistic regime. Small country needs a similar administrative apparatus as big, and the debates on the public sector are constantly pleasant. We are in the process of significant structural reforms, retirement system with sustainable pensions, health reform with adequate long-term care, and more. For all of them we have committed, but we are lagging behind. The country is faced with expectations of voters in the social field. Later on you will hear the data about poverty or risk of poverty among the population. But some features do not include conditions. We are in 19th place on the world list of social protection index and on 15th place in the ownership of cars per capita, ranked to Switzerland and Germany before Poland and Czech Republic. 85% of the population is living in their own living units. On the territory of around 20,000 square kilometers, we have 212 municipalities. High mountains and the seaside are 2 hours drive apart. Slovenia is one of the most forested regions in Europe. It has the highest biodiversity also. This year Ljubljana has become the green capital of Europe, as you will hear about it later more. Interesting are some peculiarities of culture. The UK has a bit more than 2,870 titles edited in 2013, with around 1 billion potential customers and readers. UK is followed by Slovenia and Taiwan, sharing the second and the third place in the world with 1,813 titles published. Dual grammatical forms are used in written and oral forms in Slovenia. We are Slavs and we live between Germanic and Romance world. Cultural and other influences intervene and enrich us. But the history has not always been kind to us. It also illustrates the existence of many churches. We have them more than 2,890 or approximately 1 per 600 inhabitants. This is also part of our cultural heritage. Geographical location and urgency for more and more knowledge brings extensive use of languages. Slovenia is in the 6th place, taking into account extent of knowledge English, among the countries where this is not native language. Education is developed at all levels, including 5 universities. Almost 85% of young population are students on tertiary level of education. We are athletes, mountaineers, great skiers. Skiing is developing in more than 80 ski resorts and 7 snow parks. Our people love nature, and where it is possible, it is protected. We have 1 national natural park, 3 regional, and 44 local protected areas. At last but not least, we are among the top 5 countries in the world with the respect to security measured in 148 countries according to different criteria. Slovenia has historically justified the organization of various associations and civil initiatives, and one of the largest is our federation. With this, I would like to conclude my short presentation of Slovenia and kindly invite our minister to take the floor, please.
Spoštovane gospe, spoštovani gospodje, veliko zadovoljstvo mi je, da vas lahko v svojem imenu, ter v imenu Ministrstva za zunanje zadeve pozdravim na današnji konferenci.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great honor and pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to today's conference on behalf of the Minister and the Ministry.
Tudi slovenska vlada, tako kot večina vlad v svetu, si prizadeva oblikovati mehanizme in strategije, s katerimi bi učinkovito ter do posameznika prijazno naslovili izzive, ki jih prinaša staranje prebivalstva.
Slovene government, as all others in the world, attempts to form mechanisms and strategies that would, in a friendly manner and sufficiently and effectively address the challenges that are brought about by the aging population.
Že v uvodu bi želel izpostaviti zelo pomembno vlogo, ki jo v Sloveniji pri teh prizadevanjih igrajo nevladne organizacije, humanitarne organizacije ter civilna družba. Zelo pomembno je, da se civilna družba povezuje ter pripravlja skupne pobude tudi na mednarodni ravni.
I would like to bring your attention to a very important part that is played in Slovenia by non-governmental organizations, humanitarian organizations and civil society. It is crucial that civil society has a cooperative approach to hold respect and prepares initiatives also on international level.
Demografske spremembe, ki se v večini držav odražajo kot staranje prebivalstva, so globalen pojav. Pred nas postavljajo ekonomske, socialne in pravne izzive. Odgovori nanje niso preprosti, zahtevajo materialne vire, predvsem pa širši medgeneracijski konsens.
Demographic changes, which result and reflect the aging of the population, are a global phenomenon. They pose economic, social, and legal challenges, but these answers are not simple and easy. They demand material assets and demand an intergenerational consensus.
Prav zaradi kompleksnosti te problematike je vladam zagotovo pomoč, če pretehtane, utemeljene pobude za iskanje rešitev pridejo tudi strani civilne družbe.
Because of this complexity, governments find thought-through initiatives raised by civil society extremely useful.
Tako so pred nekaj leti predstavniki Zveze društev upokojencev Slovenije Ministrstvu za zunanje zadeve predstavili mednarodna prizadevanja civilne družbe za mednarodno ureditev pravic starejših in odločili smo se, da tem pobudam prisluhnemo in jih skušamo vključiti v svoje zunanje politične aktivnosti.
So several years ago, the representatives of STUS presented to the ministry their own international efforts and the efforts of civil society to monitor and regulate these rights on an international level. We've decided to listen to these initiatives and try and place them within our internal policy and external policy.
Kot veste, sta mednarodna promocija ter zaščita človekovih pravic in temeljnih svoboščin ena od dolgoletnih prioritet slovenske zunanje politike.
As you know, safeguarding human rights and fundamental freedoms has been one of the long-standing priorities of the Slovenian government.
To se ne nazadnje odraža v dejstvu, da je Slovenija trenutno že drugič članica Sveta Organizacije Združenih narodov za človekove pravice, ki je primarno univerzalno telo za obravnavo vseh vprašanj z področja varstva človekovih pravic.
This mostly reflects in the fact that Slovenia has been now the second time that it hosted the Council and has been a member of the UN Nations Human Rights Council.
Svet za človekove pravice je leta 2014 imenoval gospod Konfeld-Mate za neodvisno strokovnjakinjo za človekove pravice starejših oseb, s katero Slovenija odlično sodeluje in je bila prva država, ki jo je strokovnjakinja obiskala ter ocenila.
This council named in 2003 Ms. Konfeld-Mate an independent expert on the enjoyment of all human rights by older persons. And interestingly enough, and we're proud to say that Slovenia was the first country that was visited by Ms. Mate and graded as well.
Menim, da je problematika zaščite pravic starejših tako specifična, da bi si zaslužila ločen mednarodno-pravni inštrument po vzoru posebnih konvencij, ki obravnavajo nekatere druge ranljive skupine prebivalstva, na primer otroke in invalide.
I believe that the issue of protection of the rights of older persons is so specific that it deserves an instrument, an international instrument that's basically very similar to other conventions that deal with other vulnerable target groups such as children and disabled.
Tak pristop Slovenije zagovarja v mednarodnih organizacijah in v bilateralnih stikih z drugimi državami. Na tem področju so posebej aktivne nekatere latinsko-ameriške države, medtem ko je znotraj Evrope do takšnega pristopa še vedno kar nekaj zadržkov.
Such approach is advocated by Slovenia in its bilateral and international organizations. Huge advances have been made by Latin American countries, however, in European Union member states still voice some concerns.
Slovenija je znotraj Evropske unije zagotovo najbolj progresivna pri obravnavi mednarodne ureditve pravic starejših oseb. Tudi zato smo zelo zadovoljni, ker je Evropska unija prav na vztrajanje Slovenije vključila problematiko pravic in posebnih potreb starejših v svoj akcijski načrt z področja človekovih pravic in demokracije v odnosu do tretjih držav.
Slovenia in this respect is one of the most progressive countries of the member states. It was also on the insistence of Slovenia that the European Union included the action, this incentive in the action plan called EU Action Plan on Human Rights and Democracy towards developing countries.
Zaradi zelo različnih pogledov, ki na temo pravic starejših krožijo znotraj mednarodne skupnosti, je odprt dialog izjemnega pomena.
The multitude of perspectives, especially on the rights of older persons, makes the open dialogue extremely important.
V tej luči je naše ministrstvo pretekli mesec na Brdu gostilo mednarodno konferenco z naslovom Starejši, pravice za okrepitev vloge starejših. Udeležili so se predstavniki posameznih držav, mednarodnih organizacij in civilne družbe. Njen namen pa je bil identificirati dobre prakse pri obravnavi pravic starejših ter opredeliti mehanizme, s katerimi bi te prakse prenesli tudi na mednarodno raven.
It is for this reason that the Ministry organized a special conference at the venue of Brdo, which is in Slovenia, called Aging Rights for Empowerment, which was basically partaken by representatives of different countries, different organizations, and the civil society, and its intention was to spotlight and identify good practices in dealing with the rights of older persons and define also the mechanisms with which these good practices would be brought to international level.
Ob koncu želim poudariti, da se tudi na globalni ravni krepi zavedanje o tem, da je potrebno k izzivom staranja prebivalstva pristopiti aktivno in celovito.
We have become globally aware that this problem, this issue, requires a holistic and active approach.
Razvojna agenda Organizacije Združenih narodov do leta 2030, ki je bila sprejeta septembra lani v New Yorku, vključuje zavezo svetovnih voditeljev, da pri zagotavljanju trajnostnega razvoja nobena skupina prebivalstva ne bo pozabljena ali zapostavljena. Prepričan sem, da nam bo z dialogom in skupnimi prizadevanji uspelo to zagotoviti tudi za starejše.
UN Development Agenda 2013, which was adopted in New York, foresees and binds the leaders of Europe and other parts of the world to see that no group of people, target people, is neglected.
Še enkrat se zahvaljujem organizatorjem za povabilo na konferenco ter vsem udeležencem. Želim uspešno in zanimivo razpravo.
Once again, I'd like to thank all the organizers for inviting me, and I wish you to have a pleasant debate and discussion.
Pri tem vam pa zagotavljam kot minister za zunanje zadeve, da bo Slovenija še vedno odigravala vodilno vlogo znotraj Evropske unije, ko gre za mednarodno zaščito pravic starejših, ker smo prepričani, da starejši so ranljiva skupina, tako kot so otroci, ženske, invalidi. Tukaj lahko računate na nas in tudi na vašega ministra za zunanje zadeve.
As the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I give you my word, and I assure you that Slovenia will still remain the leading country in these initiatives of protecting and safeguarding the rights of older persons. You have my word.
Veliko veselje mi je bilo, da sem bil danes tukaj vaš gost in hvala lepo za vaše prizadevanje.
It was a great honor. Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, for your address, contribution, and also for your encouraging words. Thank you. We count on
Ja, hvala za vaše besede, zagotovo vas bomo držali za vašo besedo.
We have the permission. May I invite you, Mr. EURAG and Dana Stein to join me here that I will not be alone. We are prepared now. We prepared you to go here, on the right side, where we want, or in the middle. I think better in the middle. Just, yes, we'll go from here. Difficulties. Excuse us for a moment, since we arrange ourselves. I would like to give now the word to State Secretary, Madame Martina Book, please, for the service.
Besedi kliče gospod Huk, državno sekretarko Ministrstva za delo.
Hvala lepa. Spoštovano delovno predsedstvo, če vam
Socialne varnosti in pravice do dostojanstva pa pogosto izhajajo tudi dodatne kršitve, ki se izkazujejo predvsem kot nasilje nad starejšimi.
This poverty amongst older people can already be considered an infringement of basic human rights, but this is particularly evident with other infringements that happen later on due to lack of financial means.
Pri varuhu čedalje pogosteje obravnavamo različne oblike nasilja ožjih sorodnikov nad starimi in bolnimi, ki imajo sicer edini redne, pa vendarle nizke dohodke, s katerimi morajo preživljati tudi mlajše, praviloma brezposobne sorodnike.
The Ombudsman Office often has to deal with problems, issues when older generations are being violated, all different sorts of violence are being exposed on them just because they're usually the only breadwinners of the family and therefore they have to also make a living for the younger generations that are which have jobs.
Starejši so čedalje pogosteje na željo sorodnikov odpeljani iz institucionalnega varstva v domačo oskrbo, kjer pa ni nikakršnega nadzora nad njihovo nego in pogoji bivanja.
More frequently than not, older generations are taken from institutionalized care to home care in order to be taken care at home. But this means that any supervision is now lacking.
Mislim, da je čas, da se politika končno odloči, v kakšnem minimalnem standardu bo starejšim zagotavljala dolgotrajno oskrbo, ter iz katerih virov bomo zagotavljali za to potrebna sredstva.
I think it's high time that our government decides what kind of care we would provide to the older generations, and of course, from which origins and sources will such care be operated and funded.
Pri sanaciji bank so se sredstva kar hitro našla, pri skrbi za stare in bolne pa njihovih virov politiki nikakor ne uspejo najti.
When making banks solvent, of course the funds were found very quickly. When it comes to the questions of older generations, such funds are apparently non-existent.
Tudi na podlagi včerajšnje razprave na posvetu v Izoli si dovolim oceno, da slovenska oblast premalo zaupa organizacijam civilne družbe.
Also based on yesterday's discussion that took place in Izola, I dare to say that the Slovene government does not do enough to take care of these issues.
Nevladne organizacije ne predstavljajo le alternative trenutni politiki, temveč so ji lahko veliko pomoč.
Especially non-governmental organizations can prove to be very helpful in such respect.
Nevladne organizacije razpolagajo znanjem, kadri, izkušnjami, časom in predvsem voljo.
Particularly because non-governmental organizations have time, the knowledge, the expertise, and of course experience to work in this field.
Organizacijam starejših bi zato morali prisluhniti tako pri snovanju različnih politik, kakor pri njihovem izvajanju.
Therefore, their voices should be heard when making policies from the beginning to their implementation.
Pričakujem, da bo tudi današnja konferenca prispevala k temu cilju in vam želim uspešno delo.
Expect today's conference to contribute to this goal and wish you good luck with the work.
Thank you very much for your contribution, Mr. Deputy Ombudsman. Now I would like to invite our Vice President, Madame Vera Pečnik, to give in the absence of our President, Mr. Zondonko, who is still not in position.
Zaradi odsotnosti gospoda predsednika.
Spoštovano predsedstvo, konference, spoštovani vsi visoki gostje, ste med nami, dragi prijatelji, izrekam pa res prijazno dobrodošlico v imenu Zveze društev upokojencev Slovenije. Imamo čas, da gostimo to pomembno srečanje prav letos, ko naša zveza praznuje tudi 70-letnico obstoja.
Dear esteemed guests, dear people present here today, dear friends, I would like to warmly welcome you here today and give me a great honor to speak to you today as we also celebrate the 70th anniversary of the Slovene Federation of Pensioners Organizations.
Z nizom prireditev, tudi z današnjim dogodkom, bomo proslavili jubilej in poudarili pomen organiziranega delovanja za doseganje ciljev. V našem primeru je to doseganje rezultatov v prizadevanjih za boljši položaj in za dostojanstvo starejših oseb.
Events such as this one, today's conference, and many others aim to support and develop and of course solidify the position of older generations, especially in terms of exercising their rights. And we really hope that we should achieve that goal.
Naša organizacija je članica večjih mednarodnih organizacij. Preko 40 let smo tudi članica EURAG-a. Zelo cenimo njeno delovanje in to, da svojim članstvom presega okvire Evropske zveze in tako v širšem prostoru uveljavlja svoje poslanstvo.
We are a member of many different organizations on the international level. We have been a member of EURAG for more than 40 years. And we are extremely pleased to see that EURAG does not function just within the European Union, but much more abroad. So in this way, of course, things are made global.
Tako kot EURAG je tudi Zveza društev upokojencev Slovenije neodvisna, neprofitna, nevladna in humanitarna organizacija starejših, ki deluje za starejše in preko tega v aktualnih življenjskih razmerah tudi sočasno za vse generacije. Smo največja nevladna organizacija v Sloveniji z blizu 210.000 člani, kar je približno polovica, malce manj, 40% vseh upokojencev in naši člani delujejo v več kot 510 društvih, klubih.
So I would like to say that STUSES is just like EURAG, is an international, but it's Slovene, but it's a non-profit, non-governmental humanitarian organization. It works in the field of older generations. We cover around 40% of all pensioners in Slovenia, which is roughly 250,000, which is a great number, and we function in more than 50 associations around Slovenia. 500, sorry.
Bom še kaj ponovila. Naša člani imamo 510 približno društev, klubi in aktivi in se združujemo v 13, moram reči, regionalnih združenjih, ki delujejo z temi 510 društvi.
And of course we're divided, there's a hierarchy of 13 regional associations that belong to STUS, that basically comprise of 510 individual organizations.
Naši cilji so enaki ciljem EURAG-a in drugih seniorskih organizacij v Evropi, zato jih ne bom nikjer posebej navajala. Omenjena je, da se posebej posvečamo življenjskim pogojem upokojencev, ključno za ohranjanje nivoja pokojnin in pa aktivnih stil naših društev.
We share the same aims and goals and principles of all other international organizations for all people. So this is why I will not repeat all those. I would just like to stress that our particular aim is to maintain the level and the standard of people of the older generations, as well as keeping pensions and their funds.
Želimo zagotoviti aktivno in kvalitetno staranje nam, vsem drugim starostnikom, tudi ki niso člani našega združenja, ampak moram reči, tako kot sta že omenila minister Erjavec in pa župan gospod Jankovič, da to zelo, zelo težko dosegamo.
We would like to ensure active and healthy aging for all, not just our members, but all the aged people in Slovenia. But as the Mayor and the Minister of Foreign Affairs have already mentioned, this has been extremely difficult to reach in our state.
Izvajamo vrsto nacionalnih in mednarodnih projektov. Zelo smo ponosni na projekt Starejši za starejše, v katerem deluje preko 4,000 prostovoljcev.
We are particularly proud of many projects, not just on a local and regional level, but also international. Our prime force is also the Seniors to Seniors, that's already been mentioned, with more than 4,000 people involved.
Enako pomembno je spodbujanje aktivnega državljanstva starejših in razvoj dolgožive družbe. Ljudje cenijo pravno svetovanje, pomoč pri izboljšanju življenjskega okolja in življenjskih razmer starejših, izobraževanje in različnih usposabljanj, ki jih organiziramo zanje.
Equally important is also, of course, active citizenship of older generations. For that, we've organized different programs, trainings, institutionalizations for them to be aware of that and to implement such active citizenship.
V športnih aktivnostih, rekreaciji, kulturnih dogodkih pri nas deluje več kot 11,500 prostovoljcev.
We are present everywhere in sports, in culture. We have more than 11,500 volunteers helping us.
Zveza društev upokojencev omogoča vključevanje v procese sprejemanja pomembnih odločitev v državi s posredovanjem naših stališč in zahtev ter predlogov. Državni organi, ki pa oblikujejo normativne akte, sicer redko sprejemajo naše sugestije, naše pobude in dobesedno zahteve.
Our federation has been trying really hard to influence decision makers in our country, particularly the ones regarding legislation. But our suggestions, our initiatives have really not been listened to, and it's really difficult for them to implement them in the actual legislation at the end.
Toda iz dneva v dan vedno znova se prepričujemo tako sebe kot druge, da smo na dobri poti, saj ne smemo obupati.
But we keep convincing ourselves that we're doing the right thing, we're on the right track, and that we should never give up.
Zato se še posebej tudi zahvaljujem gospodu Dolčiču za izvajanje glede nasilja, glede tega, ker ne zmorejo svojci plačevati dodatka za domove upokojencev in ljudje odhajajo domov, kjer se trudimo s projektom Starejši za starejše, da izvajamo nadzor oziroma da pomagamo tam, kjer se nasilja karkoli pomaga, to da večkrat je tako, da mogoče smo kdaj tudi neuspešni.
This is why I would like to express my gratitude to Mr. Dolčič for his extreme efforts as a representative of the Ombudsman in cases when violence is really present after adults or older generations are being taken home due to the fact that there is a lack of financial means, but then of course violence outbreaks, and this is why we have implemented a project called Seniors to Seniors to prevent that. However, we are aware that sometimes we're just being unsuccessful.
Spoštovani, ta konferenca nam vsem daje priložnost, da dobimo nekaj pogleda, kako se z izzivi starejših sprijemamo na vseh nivojih in tudi v drugih okoljih. To daje tudi priložnost za izmenjavo izkušenj, urejanje skupnih zadev v prostorih, kjer živimo.
Therefore, this conference is a great opportunity for us to have a look at all the processes going on and how to merge our goals, our ideas and projects so that we have a unified thought.
Veselim se poslušanja vaših cenjenih prispevkov in upam, da večinoma dobrih praks. Konferenci pa želim uspešno delo in vam vsem skupaj želim tistim, ki ste v drugod, res prijetno bivanje v Ljubljani. Hvala organizatorju.
I look forward to listening to all your generous and important contributions, especially on good practices. But I would also like to thank all the guests and organizers for coming here, and to you, all of you who are coming from other places of the world, thank you for coming and have a pleasant stay.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice President. We will work further. We have still enough of courage and enough of will. I would like to give the floor now to Mr. Marian Sedmak. He is also initiator of this centers, Mr. Mayor mentioned, and at the same time the president of the platform Europe.
Zdaj pa gre beseda inovatorju dnevnih centrov. Tako, prosim za besedo.
Thank you, Chair.
Oh, you're welcome.
No, I was deceived, because I was told that this conference is working only in English, not with translations. So I will torture you with my very bad English, much worse than yours is. But as usually, thank you for coming, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. Is there any excellency here? No more. As usually, we begin with, some words on pro domo sua. My friend Vera did it, praising the work of our national organization. I have to praise the work of our European organization. Saying following, Age Platform Europe is a European network of organizations of and for people aged 50 and more, which aims to voice and promote the interest of the 150 million senior citizens in European Union and to raise awareness on the issues that concern them most. Yes, okay. Age is involved in a range of policy and information activities to put older people's issues on the EU agenda and to support networking amongst older people's groups. Our guiding principles hold that a change of attitudes is needed to achieve a European society for all ages, and that there is a need to promote solidarity between generations in a way that recognizes older people's contributions to the society. 8 years ago, the economic crisis broke out and brought many unpleasant surprises, particularly the older generation, to those who with decades of hard work brought enormous wealth to Europe and who rightly expected to enjoy their old age in accordance with their contributions to the wealth of the nation, and who still contribute, mostly unnoticed, to the welfare of their families, neighborhood and communities. In 2015, Age set out to assess the impact of EU's and member state policies on the rights of older persons. Throughout our policy work, we drew the attention to the situations of ageism, discrimination, abuse, we heard about that, social exclusion and poverty, but also good practices which promote a positive vision of old age and which view older people as individuals with rights instead of welfare recipients. Based on our members' feedback, we repeatedly explored the fact that the national reforms in pensions, health and long-term care are likely to increase poverty, inequalities and social exclusion of older people. We work to empower older people to be able to claim their human rights and how they can effectively organize to do that. These achievements paved the way for the work that we will do in 2016 to mainstream the rights of older people across all European Union policies, including by improving the capacity of our members to monitor human rights violations at grassroots levels and evaluating the outcomes of the implementation of the Madrid International Plan of Action on Aging. Summing up, Age Platform Europe worked on advancing older people rights at EU and global levels, campaigning on age-friendly environments, on mobilization for an age-friendly European Union, and as each year on European semester as well, then on human rights issues, older people's employment problems, on active citizenship and social inclusion issues, on adequate income and fight against poverty in old age, on consumer rights, healthy and dignified aging, accessibility and standardization, and even on senior tourism. In 2012, Age launched a campaign towards an age-friendly European Union by 2020, with a goal to shape a fair and sustainable society for all ages. Following the European Year 2012 for active aging and solidarity between generations, the European Innovation Partnership on Active and Healthy Aging offered a key platform for age to promote age-friendly environments. Thanks to its active involvement in this process, Age managed to raise awareness and gather support for the present Covenant on Demographic Change. 2015 was not an easy year, it was a demanding year, but summing up, it was twice as rewarding. In year 2015, Age Platform Europe had to repeat some old answers to old questions and find many answers to a lot of new questions as well. And we again realized that we are all better off when representative democracy goes hand in hand with participatory democracy, when the established politics goes hand in hand with the civil society, it was said today already, and the government with the community. And we could anew realize that the written law, fix or error, fixed in bronze as 2000 years ago, Ovidius wrote,
Preparation for this meeting.
It's my good technical advice. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and good morning, gentlemen. 14 years ago, almost the same day in early May, a man of outstanding personality said in a city in the south the following, and he was singing, "When I grow old, I'm losing my hair, many years from now, will you still send me the Valentine, birthday greeting, bottle of wine?" And then he added, "Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64? Now he's 84. Kofi Annan was singing that at the opening session of the Madrid International World Assembly on Aging. And it was extremely impressive. I wanted to share this memory with you. Minister, I must say Minister because he was very impressive. Ombudsman, representatives of the Slovenian government, excellencies, you all, you include, and dear colleagues and friends, and especially Vice President Tsiros, and a good recovery to your president. First of all, happy birthday. It is a great achievement to have run this organization, to have invented it 70 years ago, to have brought it through all these changes, historical changes, difficulties, etc., just to defend one part of the population which is particularly vulnerable and which is still the future of our society. But all the wisdom accumulated by this older generation, which is the teacher, the educator of the younger generation. Whatever we enjoy today has been created by those who age now and come to the end of their lives. They deserve great honor, great respect, and many thanks to them. As the president of the European Federation of Older Persons, I was asked to talk about the role of the European Federation in aging policies. Since its foundation in 1962, the European Federation of Older Persons, EURAG, has always endeavored to help to shape and support sound aging policies in Europe, not only in the interest of its own members and older persons in general, but also for the benefit of society at large. In earlier times, EURAG has mainly concentrated its efforts on putting forward demands and recommendations to politicians and other decision makers through position papers and contributions to important conferences like the just mentioned the First World Assembly on Aging in Vienna, and later, 20 years later, the Second World Assembly on Aging in Madrid in 2002. But even though EURAG has played a key role in coordinating the civil society contributions to the Madrid International Plan of Action on Aging of the United Nations, and could be rather satisfied with its outcome, it became soon evident that the crucial issue connected with such well-intended and promising plan will always reside in the difficult mechanism of concrete and sustainable implementation process and in its monitoring. Thus, EURAG decided right after the Madrid World Assembly to get heavily involved in the Ministerial Conference of the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, the UNECE, that was held immediately after Madrid in Berlin, only some months later, in October 2002, to negotiate and proclaim a regional implementation strategy for the Madrid International Plan of Action on Aging. The work EURAG and its civil society allies, like the platform and others, had been so appreciated by the 56 member states of the UNECE. It's much bigger than Europe. It stretches from Vladivostok to Vancouver. That is the whole northern hemisphere of our globe. And 56 member states of the UNECE, that they were given the opportunity to make a formal common statement at the end of the Berlin conference in which they, civil society organizations, presented publicly most substantial and convincing arguments in respect to necessary further action of European governments to make their commitments a reality for people. In recognition of EURAG's input and merits, its today president, and that's me, was appointed vice chair of the newly created task force, which was called Monitoring the Regional Implementation Strategy on Aging of the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. That was a quite outstanding decision of the United Nations to appoint a civil society representative and not a governmental representative in that committee as the vice chair. And then this task force became some years later the Governmental Working Group on Aging of the UNECE. We have a representative over there. He was nominated the official representative of civil society in this working group and became even member of its bureau, a very, very unusual arrangement in the UN system indeed. In this position, we held since 2008, he has the opportunity to be strongly involved in all the relevant discussions and decision-making processes between the representatives of the focal points on aging of the 56 UNECE member states. Thus, he has extended possibilities in helping to shape the European ministerial conferences on aging that take place every 5 years in order to monitor progress made in aging policies, or non-progress made in aging policies. He can also contribute to the substance of the ministerial declarations proclaimed at these high-level conferences, by which governments commit themselves to realize further action as part of the implementation process of the Madrid International Plan of Action on Aging of the United Nations. In addition, he has been entrusted with the conceptual preparation of official sponsored civil society fora that have become, in the meantime, an integral part of these ministerial conferences. That is quite an achievement too for civil society, to be part of a ministerial conference and to be considered, as it has been said today by the Minister for Foreign Affairs and by the representative of the Social Ministry, without them, no implementation will be successful. To adequately identify and formulate civil society concerns and demands, he communicates intensely with other relevant European social networks through the social platform in Brussels, in which he has been president for many years, and with the membership of the UN NGO Committee on Aging in Vienna, and I greet the president of that UN NGO Committee on Aging. She's sitting there. Furthermore, he uses the reflection and findings of a large research project of the European Union on social innovation for active and healthy aging, in which EURAG is one of the 18 consortium partners and holds an important bridging position. Only recently, the NGO Committee on Aging, together with the Social Innovation for Active and Healthy Aging project, has published a remarkable compendium of 31 very concrete aging policy-related comments and recommendations, which are given to the Ombudsman for consideration, grouped in 7 distinct sections of particular concern under the title Recommendations for Decision Makers to Promote Active Aging in a Society for All Ages, as you have mentioned. This publication has been widely distributed to representatives of European governments, administrations and civil society organizations and found high interest. We already can see how our proposals and our language finds their way into the documents, into the declarations, and into decision-making processes. Part of it will undoubtedly be reflected in the next UNECE Ministerial Conference on Aging in 2017, and in particular in the Ministerial Declaration on further commitments and future action of the UNECE member states. Remember, 56 UNECE member states around the globe. This brief story, ladies and gentlemen, about the proactive engagement of our organization, the European Federation of Older Persons, goes to show how important it is not just to contribute to nice policy plans and to declarations of international organizations and governments, but to make sure that one becomes part of the indispensable implementation process, with its conceptual work on concrete targeted policies, on sound strategies, as well as on real programs and action. And finally, on monitoring and assessment that may lead to necessary adjustments or even new orientations of the policies. I would like to end with thanking you all, the government, our partner organization and member organization, our host number in Europe, and all of you and my colleagues, and you as specialists, my colleagues, for your generous invitation and for the great hospitality which we encounter here in this Slovenian Republic. It is my second time that I am here for a EURAG Congress. The first one I was just invited as one of these, unknown speakers from the outside who had to say something about human rights. And that was my contribution at that time. And I'm very proud to be again here in that beautiful city. And the mayor described it so well. Yesterday I have heard from a journalist sitting over there that this is really the most wonderful city in Europe for the older generation. And that is part of the achievement of that impressive mayor of that city of Ljubljana. Well, it is always good to come together again and again from time to time to exchange and in particular, dear friends, to exercise friendship and mutual support. Finally, I would like to say again, happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Just final thoughts. Okay, so you can take the floor, please. Speaking about Ljubljana as a creative capital field.
Thank you. It is a great pleasure to be here. The organizers advised me that this presentation should be in English, so I hope that everyone is comfortable with this. So welcome to Ljubljana, the European Green Capital 2016. Usually I have a PowerPoint presentation, but this time I will talk about the general things that we made in Ljubljana to become European Green Capital. So Ljubljana, I don't know how long you are already here, if you had a chance to saw it by yourself, how it's developing and what we have implemented during the last decade, but there are enormous changes. So Ljubljana will surprise you and exceed your expectations. It is unique. It is unique because it is small. Its surface area is small, but at the same time it's huge. It's huge by its hospitality and it's huge by its quality of life. On 275 square kilometers, there is a center for all motorized vehicles, and we open it to pedestrians and cyclists. So, and we completely transformed the main artery in the city center, Slovenska Street. Once there were heavy traffic in this, street, but today you cannot see private motorized vehicles there. Now, here is a transformed traffic regime. That means that we created a shared space. This is the first shared space in Slovenia. So, it means that you can meet there only pedestrians, cyclists, and public transport. And what I prefer the most on this street are young ash trees. There are 60 three of them lined by the city walkway, and they are special because they attract bees and butterflies. So what is not written in the presentation is that we have also honey from the city. So the bees, and there is also on the roof of the cultural Congress Center, there are bees, and they collect honey from different parts of greenfield areas in Ljubljana.
The hives.
Yes. And we sent this honey to some tests abroad to, I think it was an institute in Bonn, and the results were that this honey is cleaner than the honey from the farmer areas because there are no pesticides. So, and this is also one of the proofs that air in Ljubljana is not so Yes, thank you very much. So, the city, the life in the city center became revitalized. There is a new energy. So this is like some kind of not only an ecological zone. We created an ecological zone. So this is not only ecological zone. This is the place where where people meet, where they socialize. There are numerous. Now there is a space for numerous events, cultural, sport events, some state events. So it's like a big living room. And the city center, at the beginning, there were only a few streets, but today, this ecological zone, this city center that is close to motorized vehicles, is now on the area of more than 100,000 square meters. So, but however, one of the major challenges that we meet in the European region, and perhaps you don't see Slovenia as a Nubian country, but it is. We've got the Sava River flowing into the Danube. And to finish, I would like to invite you to become members of DANET, and it's very easy. We have a website, and there are many events going on. We'll be present also at the Donaufest in Ulm. There will be a conference and so on and so on. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for recognizing. I have a very small remark. When I was working for Pact of Stability for Southeastern Europe, we were also doing something along Danube. Yes, it was that were energy questions. That's really common.
DANET is specialized in social development, and it is meant to support the Denver strategy, and energy is one of the
questions.
One of the bigger questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to welcome your initiative because EURAG is very much interested in close cooperation with DANET because it is actually we have the same goals, and we have been working with Karen Stauffer about the close cooperation for years. So we are very pleased that you are taking part in this conference and that we can really establish tangible cooperation and we can talk about it in person. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for your intervention. I would like to ask now Mr. EURAG, which I am prepared to give your contribution. With respect. Thank you very much.
Microphone is working, okay.
My role within SDUS is that I'm a member of a professional board, and I'm especially focused on ICT, information technology, and I work also in projects. And I would like to start exactly with this, with one question. Why or should we do or execute or perform projects or not? I will talk about SDUS project called iCare. It is not the SDUS project, it is an international project. There is a consortium of 8 organizations behind.
They didn't know much about democracy. And after the war, they didn't have a chance to learn, to go through the process of modernizing democracy, which went other in Europe. So older people, when we changed the one-party system to democratic system, actually didn't have any experience with democracy. And they just, for 20 years, 25 years now, they observed amazingly what's happening in the parliament. They were silent because we were silent because we were presented to younger people as those in the communist system who didn't do anything for the people. We were offended, and currently I could say that majority of older people in Slovenia are unhappy. The best proof that we are unhappy is suicide rate of older men in Slovenia. It's amazing for me. It's amazing that in Slovenia, since 2000, the suicide rate, Slovenia is one of the top countries by suicide rate in the world. Suicide rate since 2000 went down in all age groups, in both sexes, except in older men than 69 years old. In those between 70 and 79, the rate stayed stable. It didn't go down. In those in 80, above 79, it's going up. Here is my colleague, Tomaž Banovec, Slovenian statistician. I went to him and I said, why women don't do suicide? And I have my female answer, that mothers can't die if their children are in trouble. And many poor families use mothers' pension for survival of younger generations. And also we found in our big projects elderly for elderly that 75% of widows went or stayed together with the children, while men don't. Fathers, only 25%. When they become widowers, they don't join children's families. So here could be some point for women, but Tomaž said to me, what about Catholic Church? Women in Slovenia also, they have some support in Catholic Church to live further. Members of parliament, they are caught in Slovenia, they are caught in the net of liberal economists and political leaders. They cannot, could not, and dare not express their requests, needs and suggestions of their voters while raising hands in the parliament. That's our opinion. They are not active, they don't represent their voters in the parliament. And those who would like to, we have very high exchange rates of parliamentarians. Almost 50% are going out of the parliament every 4 years. Why? One of the reasons is that parliamentarian parties adopted voting system so much that leaders of the parties know who will be elected. They know where to put those who are obedient to be elected again. So they have a core of the parliamentarians who are elected again and again, and those are leaders of the parliamentary groups. Many people, I've got every day calls from the people, please help us. Do something for pensions, do something against discrimination. We are unhappy. So I studied I must say that I was also one of those stupid parliamentarians in the first parliament of modern Slovenia, and I was not re-elected because I was not good enough. So I had some experiences. I was not good enough with the voters. I didn't recognize that I should work with them, and I was on elections in Ljubljana. So I should work with people. I recognize it later on. I'm happy that I was not, because I would become the beast as they are now in the parliament. So that was good for me. I talked with my colleagues how to help people. We went from parliamentarian group to parliamentarian group. We struggled with our party. Our party, it was established in our organization, but it was not our party. So we struggled with all these politicians, tried to motivate them to do something for older people. And actually, Benjamin's party, when they needed votes, they did something for us every 4 years, and sometimes also in between. But not always. And therefore, with the help of international experts, because I went around and I learned from international NGOs how should we deal with parliamentarians. So we established the project Older People for Harmonious, that's Google translation, I don't know, it's good, development of long-living society. Goals, we established these goals to establish joint activities of all self-help NGOs of elderly in the field of active citizenships. We were 5 organizations, but STUS, Slovene Federation of Pensioners, is far too weak.
Since you heard of, just to compare a few informations which you got, I would like to add some new information. We heard about this Ljubljana bees. There are 2 or 3 boxes on the top of high-rise, and they are 2.5 years old. Our network is 32 years old, and I'm co-founder also of it. And I think we keep within professional limits, and we had a lot to do with the research work to discover what the third age is and what the old people are we about, and what principles are basically there. You can record the present state in the practice. You go with empirical.
Zveza društev upokojencev Slovenije, Anka Osterman, sem predsednica programskega sveta programa Elderly for Elderly, starejši za višjo kakovost življenja na domu. The analysis of various projects of the mutual help of older people revealed that older people enjoy getting involved into different volunteers activities to help other older people. One of such projects is this, Elderly for a Better Quality of Life at Home, carried out by Federation of Pensioner Associations of Slovenia. The aim of the project is to implement mutual help of the elderly in every single local community in Slovenia, to be carried out by volunteers from NGOs, associations of pensioners in local communities. NGOs collaborate with public services, the scope of action of which is to support and help the elderly in various ways. In this way, is ensured a holistic approach to the handling of various actions concerning old people. The objectives of the project are. They to use knowledge, experiences, and
Giving our presentations to meet
just go with the presentation. Thank you.
First of all, dober dan. I had a charming welcome at the airport, and the man who brought me in taught me a few words in your language. I'm just so energized by everything I've heard here today that I must really apologize to you, because I'm not going to stick to what I wrote and sent through earlier. I'm terribly sorry, but you've just given me too many ideas. Very first of all, may I wish the organization that's greeting us today a very happy birthday. I feel particularly empathetic with you because 70 years ago, way down in South Africa, there was a happy event in my family, and I was born. So I had the same age as your organization, and I've also been through the trials and tribulations of life, and I feel that at this stage of my life, 70, I have had so much experience that I'm really feeling as though I'm certainly not retiring. In fact, if I'm here today, it's because I started about 7 years ago, or no, in 2007, an organization called Too Young to Retire. And I went to the United States to attend the first ever positive aging conference. And there I met a woman who changed my life, Dr. Jan Hively. And I listened to her, and the title of her speech was Meaningful Work, Paid or Unpaid, Through to the Last Breath. And I was just absolutely scotched by that. I thought that was the most wonderful statement I'd ever heard. I was 60 at the time, and I was beginning to think how I was going to spend the rest of my life. And since then, Jan and I have formed a partnership, and we have launched our Pass It On network, which I'm going to talk to you about. So I just mentioned I am South African. I have lived in France now for almost 40 years, and today here I represent 3 different organizations. Older, which is a member of EURAG, who sends you greetings and apologizes for not being able to be with you. My own association, Too Young to Retire, and then our Pass It On network. So what is the Pass It On network? The Pass It On network is a peer-to-peer network of global leaders who think like you do. People of our age who want to move and make things happen. And we very simply meet together telephonically through teleconferences. And Dana has attended a number of these teleconferences. And we do exactly what Dirk was saying earlier on. We get together, we stimulate each other, and everything grows from then. And as Martin Buber said, it's all in the meeting. Knowing that there's somebody in the Ukraine who's thinking like you think about third age training, knowing that there's somebody in Iceland who's doing a project with the European Union on how to train seniors for the next 30 to 40 years of their life, makes an awful difference. We know we are not alone. And what is so exciting, and why I'm so excited and energized today, is that I honestly believe with all my heart that we are reaching or rising up to a tipping point where society is going to believe and understand that we have got so much to give, and that they're just wasting and
time we're born. We go to nursery schools, they teach us, they train us, we go to school, we carry on. Throughout our careers, our companies train us, and then we get to a fatidic age of 60 or 65, and they say, switch off, all systems down. It's ridiculous. And the fact that we're all living 20 to 30 years into our retirement age means that it is simply not economically viable. We cannot do it. And in everything that we're doing with Jan and with everybody who belongs to our network, one of the primary issues that everybody has throughout the world, whether it's in Japan or India, Russia or wherever, is economic security. We're going to outlive our pensions if we carry on like this. We just simply cannot do it. So that is why we have this network. It's a network which aims then to identify throughout the world people like yourselves who've been working so hard to get things going and moving, to tell you that you're absolutely not alone, and to publicize the programs that you are developing. And I want to make a very clear distinction. We talk about programs that are for seniors, by seniors, for seniors. There's sufficient programs for people doing things for seniors, but we're concerned about what we've been hearing today, how seniors themselves are involved in doing everything. So this is what our network is all about. I can give you a lot of examples. In Japan, where I went to in March this year, there's a wonderful organization like EURAG. It's called the Active Aging Consortium for Asia Pacific. There are 11 different countries involved. There's scientific institutions and civil organizations involved, and they are very, very keen to work with EURAG, to work with other organizations. And this is how we're all going to break through. We're just going to carry on and show the world that we're there and up to be counted. What I would really like to talk to you about very briefly is the fact that I mentioned earlier that I think we're at a tipping point. In the United States, there's a wonderful organization called encore.org. Encore in the sense of a theater play, when you clap your hands and they all come back. Encore. The funniest thing is that encore is a French word, but in France they don't call it encore, they call it bis. Anyway, it took me quite a while to sort that one out. But encore has been working now since about 1998, around there, on this whole issue of using the capital of senior experience. And they've been working extremely hard at it, and they've had a lot of very good backing, financial backing. And just last week I attended a webinar where they released a wonderful tool, and I'll send it to all of you. It's freely available. It's a toolkit on how to persuade society that there is so much to be had through working with senior experience. And they reckon in this site that there are 20 million American seniors who want to have an encore career. And there are already 4 million that have succeeded in doing so. And they stress the fact that the encore career can be anything. It's anything that will bring purpose to your life. And they also stress the fact, and I think that you're all totally involved with that as well, that in our society today, we are living the longevity revolution. But that's just one element of the upheaval that we're living through in general terms, because we've got climatic change, we've got technological change, we've got the age revolution, and so on and so on. And all of these situations create needs within our society. I had called my talk Life is Like a 3D Printer, and I'll just have a little giggle on that one. To me, what I love about that concept of a 3D printer is that you conceive an idea, you imagine something, then you conceive a plan, and then it materializes. But it does take time. It's layer by layer by layer by layer, a little bit like knitting a jersey. But the other aspect is that I think, in terms of using and carrying on with the technological metaphor, is that we have stepped out of a period where we were so used to doing copy and pasting. We did what we did last year because it worked last year. And this has now, I think, come to an end. We're in a situation which is totally different, with new challenges, and we have to be innovative for whatever we are. And you know, I'd like to tell you just an experience that I had in your city yesterday. It's a beautiful city, I absolutely love it. And I came early and I went walking along the riverbank, and there was an exhibition going on the riverbank on ecology. And I stopped at a stand, and there was this woman, I can show you her photo, and she had a simple table, she had some wheat, she had stones, she had a grinding machine, and then on the other side she had a little electric baking thing. And she's been a farmer all her life, and she said, I'm shocked by the fact that children today haven't a clue where flour comes from. So she goes to all these different organizations with the ecological situation, and she's now doing this in schools as well. And by this totally simple demonstration, the children do it themselves. They take some grains, they take the stones, they crush the grains, and then they put the grains into the machine and they grind it. And then she makes some pancakes. And then they eat the pancakes with her apple and quince jelly. And they know what's happening. And she has managed to make herself a little job. And she gets some money now, and she's become known. And I think the whole point of the story is she didn't sit back and say, maybe somebody will ask me to come and demonstrate. She said, there is this need, I'm going to do something about it. And nobody has stopped her. She's just gone ahead. And then I'd just like to say that, oh, I've forgotten to look at my watch. Oops. I didn't start the timer. But just finally, our Pass It On network drew inspiration from a Hopi Indian. And this Hopi Indian wrote to his people, we are living in totally changing times. And he ends this poem with the following line, we are the ones we have been waiting for. And this line has had so much impact for us because that's exactly what it is. There's nobody above us. We are now the seniors. Are we going to sit down and wait for the 40, 50-year-old parliamentarians to tell us what to do? Come on. I think we can do better than that. But I think that while we have to carry on doing all this extraordinary work, like you were talking about, getting onto the parliamentarians, we just have to be like the woman with the wheat. See what the need is around you and do something about it. And that demonstration of action will not only deny anything that has to do with ageism, because you'll be demonstrating something, but it will tell its own message. And then finally, voila, yeah.
Organization Rasta, you may remember. Greetings from Teresa Matskaric. She trusted me this speech. So I suggest to trust old people and young people and work together. We have this great experience in Latvia. So we work together. My organization was founded 2009 year. And 1 year after Rasta started work, and then we start work together. And that was the point why we started working together, because the problem is poverty, if you know. And it's not about poorness, it's not about poor people. Latvia is not a poor country, actually, but there are many poor people. The same situation as in USA, as in Russia. So I have one question. For example, if there will be 3 luxury cars in the world, only in the world, 3 cars, where they can be found? China? Actually, no. There will be in Russia, in USA, in Abu see almost as exhibitions of cars, but you can see many poor people. They are not allowed to do anything. And so we are starting to work, as you mentioned, with this PR. Young people can help with PR, with technologies, so it can be knowledge exchange. One give to another something. And that's why you can congratulate us, Latvia, 3 days ago we made political organization even in our country. One actor from Latvia, his name is Artus Kaimiņš, and he started this question, who owns the country? Yes, who owns the country? And there was many interviews with president, and everybody just, without words, how, you don't know? To people who live in country, to old people, to young people, to everyone, they own the country. But actually sometimes political faces just with the problem that no, we own. We are making rules, you are doing what we want, and then starts the problem, small pensions. Maybe you can see afterwards. Examples of pensions. If people work 10 till 20 years, in Latvia he can get only 70 euros per month. How you can survive if apartment costs 300 euros? Families are helping children who are already gone to other countries, and that is the problem. Who will be here? Who will be in our country if everyone have to go somewhere else because no income, no money. And we have work, but it's like a project. For example, in our country, in Latvia, they take people for 1 month, for 2 months. They don't need somebody who will work like 10 years and what to do, how to survive. And then even if they work 40 years or 41 years, they will earn 108 euros. The prices are the same in Latvia as in France, seriously. How to survive? But somehow our pensions survive. But then is a problem. When they become 45, 65, okay, they will survive. My grandmother is 84, and she has to work because otherwise it's not possible to survive. But if their health will be more with problems, and they have to buy medicine, who will care? Who will take care of them? So we have to cooperate. First of all, you have to help us, young people, to trust us, and then we will help you. So we have to cooperate. That's the main thing, what I suggest also to you, because otherwise we can exist. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this interesting presentation of the situation in Latvia. Thank you. This next is Mr. Gaffer, the spectrum. Our vice president. Excuse me. Did I make some? Oh, excuse me. This next is Milos. You will give the word first? Okay, then we will change. Come, please.
I also want to say Dobre den. The first time I was in Slovenia was in 1977, and we were, my wife and I, as friends, on the way to the top of Slovenia, the Triglav. And we saw how nice it was in your country, and now it is nice to be here on the top of your work for the elderly, to say something about the organizations and the activities and the impact in the Netherlands. And where's Dana? Yeah. Oh, another Dana. She was before me now. The figures you have shown us make me a little bit smaller, because I am telling you something about the situation in the Netherlands, and when I talk about the retired people there, then I know we have a rich situation when we compare that with the situation in other countries in Europe. But a little bit about the surrounding. There are in the Netherlands, besides the organizations for care and cure, different organizations for and of older persons. We have more than 3 million pensioned people above 65 years, and we have 17 million inhabitants. About, I think, 10 years, 15 years, we have 25% of the inhabitants of the Netherlands older than 65. The number of older people is not growing because the limit is in the limit for retiring is in 2021 upgraded until 67 years old. Around 750 persons, older persons, are a member of one of the organizations of older persons in the Netherlands. We are so organized, the Protestant, Catholic and general organizations of older persons and the organizations of older migrants have together around 550 members. The two umbrella organizations of pensioned people have together around 200 members, and together is that 750 members. The difference between the type of organizations is to explain as follows. The organizations of the older persons are organized around religious convictions and the migrants about their special problems. We have migrants in the Netherlands from China, Italy, Spain, the Caribbean, Turkey, Morocco, Serbia, and so I can go further, Indonesia. A lot of older people from foreign backgrounds. The organization of older persons are organized around religion fictions, I told you, and have together 2,000 sections on the local level in the whole country. Members are people with only a basic pension or a basic state pension with extra self-saved pension, the second pillar. In the Netherlands we have a basic pension for all inhabitants on the level of the minimum salary. Is growing every year. The last decennia, a lot of employees have obligatorily saved a part of their salary for a supplement pension with the aim to reach 70% of the same level of living after the date of pension, the same as before. To organize that, we have around 350 pension funds, company funds, and funds for branches of industry, funds for branches of government administrations, and funds of organizations in care and cure. The retired people of the different funds have an own organization for defense the interest in the direction of the board of their fund, but they also have for the defense of interests on national and European level 2 umbrella organizations who are working close together. My daily work, I'm working retired person, 40 hours a week. My daily work is to be the voluntary president of one of these umbrella organizations and to be the informal coordinator of the work of all the organizations of pension and all the persons in the direction of the national government, political parties, umbrella organizations of pension funds, and other players on the field of pensions, purchasing power, care and cure. Our activities, now so what you do, all of you in your own country, organizing meetings, sending letters, emails, telephone calls, personal contacts and relations, networks, publicity pressure, collecting signatures also by email or websites, working together with other players in the field, working together with universities and so on, and before the election campaigns, influencing the programs of political parties and to show our grassroots what they did for the elderly in the last period. Social media also a growing activity of to use the social media. And that's an important question, and perhaps it is also in your countries. The best way to have influence is to be a member of the parliament. And for example, 1 year ago, one of our political parties asked me to become a member of the parliament for the party. It is so important, they say, to have also elderly in the parliament, not only young people. It's your experience and so on. But I'm now working, I told you, 40 hours a week as voluntary in my to this job. But that means being a member of a party, parliament, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and living in the Hague and not in my own place. Now it is every evening I can go home and drink in the evening together with my wife a glass of wine, talk about what has happened the day, going to sleep, and the next day we go further. But being a member of parliament is a terrible thing for pension people, but not only for older people. Also for all the people who want to have a good balance between the family and the relation between wife, women, partners, and the children, and the work. And that's one of the biggest problem. There is no balance in political parties between both. And that's why we have to struggle for it, to make it possible, not only in traffic with all the older people, to make other rules, but also in society we have to change rules before it is possible to be active as pension people and the people who want to have a good balance, private and work. That's a mission, a personal mission. Important for the activities of organizations for elderly. You know all the important ways, networks, active relations, to know what you are talking about, to know what's happening in the society, in the education, very important, talked about, to know what's happening in the different fields, pension, taxes, care, cure, housing, knowledge and experience in all of that. Energy and the willing to spend time, strong organizations with a good member communication, time, a lot of time and a lot of patience, and to accept disappointments. Do we have results with all our activities? I have to be honest. The last years we do not have many results. We are very dependent of the voted parliament and governments on all levels. And the last 3 years were very bad for the elderly in the Netherlands. A lot of saving activities in care and cure, yeah, but partly necessary because we have the most expensive care and cure in the world, and then we cannot go further on this way. But partly also not necessary. But the consequence of having a government dominated by liberal thinking politicians who have only attention for business circles and working people, that's not good. For elderly, also bad are the rules for pension funds, 2014. Not necessary, but based on fear of financial problems, as in 2008. But the pension funds, governed by unions of employers and unions of employees, together with experts, have together saved more than 1,300 billion euros, enough for the aim paying good pensions now and in the future. But they cannot give pension people what they want to give because the rules of the government make it not allowed. In 2016 we experienced the consequences of new tax rules and the advantage of employers and employees, and in the distant disadvantage of pension people, people with disabilities and so on. Our work activities did not have a lot of success the last 3 years. And one of the reasons is the wrong image that older persons on this moment have a better life than 20 years ago. But the world is changing. More and more flexible work, more and more need for own choices, more and more small traders and so on. Also the rules of our government make it necessary to look for a new system of pensions. I can tell you a lot of what we are doing on that level, but for the time now it is good to say that we are very active in the field of pensions and we have a little bit space for doing it. And that's positive for us also, that in the parties who are part of the government on this moment are losing a lot of members and a lot of voters. So we have the wish and the hope that in March 2017 the situation became a little bit better for the elderly and other persons. But also a big problem is, and you see it in your own countries also, we have a growing number of our population who are voting popular parties, who are only interested in again and for nationalism. And that's a big question in our country and in some other countries. And I hope we can find each other arm in arm for doing the work in Europe all together. Thank you.
Gospod predsednica, z vami tudi prosim, koliko v evrih How much euro is a state pension? How much you get the number?
I make myself a little bit smaller. The state pension is for an individual person living together as a partner. 50% is 740 euros, and together 1,500 euros. And when you're living apart, without a partner, it is 1,200.
That applies to people who have lived in the Netherlands always. For people who came, like immigrants, like myself, for example, that came late in the country, it is quite less because it depends on the number of years that you have lived there. And some people might not have really that income at all. I really want to call attention to the situation of all the migrants. The organization, you mentioned that at the beginning, the organization, Netherlands Organization for All the Migrants, is known, grew from different ethnic groups who work together about the old age and respect each other apart for keeping the cultural identity.
I think I agree with the problem, for especially for people who are not living 50 years in the Netherlands, and most of them are migrants, and we all together, all the organizations together are fighting for the older migrants with a lower level of basic pension, and that's a very important issue for the next years.
Yeah, and the greatest problem is not economic either, is the lack of practical possibility of using healthcare and social care because of the linguistic problem and the marginal situation in which they were located, and that's what the norm is working on, stimulating the bridge people, the cultural intermediaries between the resilient society, and the immigrants, and to have the second and third generation who know the language and the culture of both countries to be able to help between the society and the migrant population. So that is the impact that can help an organization like NOMS, organization and that can be practiced at the European level, that the migrants organize themselves to be able, because they understand what the problems are, the rest of the people don't. So
There is an explanation, no question, so sorry.
Thank you very much. It was the comment. Thank you very much for your comment. Mr. Miloš, please, for short service.
Once again, lovely day. For those who don't understand Slovenian, I translate this sentence. You don't stop laughing when you grow old. You grow old when you stop laughing. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I counted from the top the number of ladies and guys. It's good information for us. There are 2 ladies and 1 man. Okay, and now to my contribution. First of all, I am representing now the Union of Pensioners of the Czech Republic. The population of the world is aging rapidly. People aged 60 and more make up over 11% of the global population. In Europe alone, the population aged 65 plus will more than double over the next 50 years. We can see that we are living in a time of significant increase of the number of seniors. The obligation of the states or governments to protect the human rights of older persons seems to be priority. None of us has calculated years ago that people will commonly reach the age of 90 and more. It is a time of substantial changes across the world, and we must know that the structure of population related to the age is going to change. Hand in hand with the changes, the importance and status of elderly people have to be adjusted. However, it is not a question of only a few years. The society must be ready to perceive the rising number of seniors and must radically change the view of them, change the strategy and modulate the economy and all attributes of everyone's daily life. We, the guests of this meeting, are mostly representatives of the Silver Society, representatives of the senior organizations that are or ought to be the base of the effort for the recognition of the undeniable rights of the seniors. Even more, we are members of our delegates of the oldest European association, EURAG, which principal objective is the strengthening of the rights of seniors. Thus, we are partially responsible for the development and fruitfulness of our mission in the field of senior movement. We all know that the rules of human rights and those of the Charter declared by the UN, but my question is, are all our governments aware of it? Do they keep their promises and do they really want to improve the living conditions of seniors? We have to start finding the response by ourselves. Closer look at our activities gives us the answer and perceive the problems of seniors. In the other words, how intensively and how loudly we speak about the problems defines how adequate might be the response. The theme of our conference is effectiveness of senior organizations and their impact on society. We have a unique opportunity to speak about it and open the door now. I'm sure that without exchange of our experience, without giving the examples and opinions, we are limited in our efforts. That's why I now want to give you some examples of the results of the Czech organizations which have succeeded in some of their activities. The effectiveness is directly proportional to our effort in case we don't limit our activity to the words only. That's why we have in the Czech Republic, founded a long time ago, the councils, the organizations, the groups of seniors in order to negotiate with the relevant persons and groups of our government and personalities of the public sector. We have, for example, enforced the participation of our members in the Council of Czech Television and Radio in drawing up the TV programs related to the seniors. Our chairman is a member of the Council of Government for the Pension System. We have regular sessions with the relevant ministers and county representatives. We are publishing monthly magazine Time of Seniors, in which we introduce the hot themes of senior lives. Through these activities, we have reached some substantial but still partial successes. For example, we are in the negotiation with the government of the Czech Republic on the adoption of the law on
for the architecture and the engineering of this hall. Therefore, I have to leave my back to ask you for I am the last one, not the least one, and I'm very, very different because I'm the only one in this court which is not European. I'm an Israeli, so I say, so I'm to be. I don't know how to say this Slovenian. Happy birthday. 70 years, it's quite an age. It's very symbolic that I celebrate my 80th anniversary, birthday, just a month ago. And I'm having a nice time in Ljubljana, celebrating my 80th birthday. Wonderful Ljubljana. But thank you for your hospitality and your warm reception, which is outstanding. Now I stand before you with some dignity, with some modesty, and with some respect. Modesty because I see in front of me a mountain of knowledge and a treasure of experience. And I am proud to belong to the same family, which is a wonderful family of EURAG. I'm Israeli, but my organization was one of the founders of EURAG back in 1962, and even the logo of EURAG was drawn by an Israeli kibbutznik from a kibbutz in Israel. So I feel very, very belong to you. For you, this is my feeling. Well, the age in Israel is getting higher and higher, and with the age is getting higher and higher, the poverty is getting higher and higher. We are a very young nation. Only, I would say, 11% out of the population is above 65 years old. 11%, but it means 900,000 elderly people above the age of 65, more than 200,000 of them under the poverty line, which is a shame. It's a shame. I'm ashamed that I face a society which 22% out of the old people, the founders of the State of Israel, are under the poverty line. Shameful. But we are doing our best. We are the largest organization in Israel, the largest old people organization in Israel. We have 50,000 members which are paying membership fees. And I'm responsible, I'm the chairman of the academic and the professional, all of the people that finished universities, 5,000 people. I am responsible, I am operating them, and I am the chairman of this organization. All of this is under the umbrella of the Israeli Trade Union. So I'm a trade unionist, and I'm a non-profitable organization. All the work are done by volunteers. I will give you now 4 examples of how to tackle our main goal to the next year. The main goal is poverty, fighting against poverty. Poverty is a general name. It's composed of many ingredients, and we have to differentiate between these ingredients in order to know how to tackle every ingredient that composes the poverty with its own tactics and own strategic. So I will give you 4 examples. 1, the code, the highest code. We have a university in Israel called the Bar Ilan University, which is most of all a religion, but not very hard religion. And back in 2003, there was a strike in the...
Thank you very much, Mr. It was very interesting. Another cases, from the other countries are really interesting. It's sorry to have, we don't have enough interest to have more speakers for talk today. Or at the conferences, which we follow. I would like to ask our president to make some closing remarks before I close this conference.
Ladies and gentlemen, we should always always reflect when we say old, what is it? Old can be at the age of 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100. It is, we know we have different definitions of old. One is the legal, administrative one, the retirement age, and then we have different ones. I've lived and worked for 10 years in Africa, and my experience was that the older you are, the more you are respected. Why? Because of the accumulated life wisdom. Perhaps not the newest technologies, but the understanding of what is life all about. And the growing responsibility to share that experience and that wisdom with the younger generations. It is a responsibility which we have. You know that Max Planck or Albert Einstein had the most beautiful thinkings at advanced age, not when they're way young. On the other hand, all these devices which we enjoy, like iPhones, etc., were invented by young people. So you have a sort of an area where the two extremes need to come together. The administrative age of 65, mind you, Mr. Bismarck, who was mentioned, when he introduced the first social security system, and the average age of a normal Slovenian worker was around 46, 47. My secretary always knows it better than me, which is very helpful. And Bismarck, at that time, the retirement age at the age of 70. Reflect a little bit about that. But anyway, out of job at the age of 65, you call it retired. It has the connotation of tired and grief, out of, etc. But people are not retired from life. Quite to the contrary, they have more time for other things which are important and not just going to the job, etc. They have not retired from life and they have not retired from society. They live now something like 20, 30, 40 years more. That is a chance. It's a great thing. And when we look at the images of older persons, when I was younger, I heard about older persons, old, frail, and forgetful. Very interesting. Old, frail, and forgetful. When I look around here, I can't see that. But still, you are all members of an old age organization or so. Makes me laugh. It is the wrong image. We need to revisit that image of when we say old. That is very important. It's very important for policies about the untapped value and the untapped energy of people who have advanced in age. And we must recognize when we talk about old persons, we are not talking about one single phenomenon. The group of old persons are all as diversified as the world is, or as the youngest are. They are this kind, that kind, etc. We just say old persons. Wrong. Totally wrong. We need to address older persons as individuals with their own capacities, their own need to be honored, recognized, and all that, and to be tapped. That means the potential used for our society. That means we need a new type of society. And the project EURAG is involved in, that social innovation for active and Healthy Aging will organize a conference in Barcelona in late October or mid-October with the title Envisioning a New World, Social Innovation for Active and Healthy Aging. We really need to have a new approach, perhaps. She's 103, and I see when she forgets things, she says, I'm over 100, I have the right to forget. Right? And forgetting some of the experiences of life is a mercy, because you are in peace with your life and you can support it much better. And I must say, what I have learned with my old mother is it gives me a lot of hope. I will enjoy aging, I must say. I see how happy she is because she reduced her.
I ask you if you allow me to say a couple of words at the end before let you to go to a bit of refreshment. May I? Okay. You didn't say no. So, first of all, I would like to thank all the participants here to take the time devoted to our conference. We appreciate it very much. Now, I'm more sure than before that organized operation makes us more efficient and more effective, included in the social issues and structures. We are still far from the situation that we would be fully satisfied with, but we are on the right track. I would like to thank all the participants who are still active for their time, because I know that they have to take time to participate on such a conference from their job. I would like to thank all the colleagues for the contributions. We appreciate it very much, and as agreed, we will prepare the publication of this work and expand the circle of potential investigators. I would like also to thank our host, municipality of Ljubljana, to Mayor Zoran Jankovic, Vice Mayor Aleš Čerin, and his team for the warm hospitality in this remarkable hall. And one little personal remark. I served only a few years within institutions within EURAG. Therefore, I would like to thank Madame Irina Levichnik, my predecessor, for advice and transfer the experiences and written materials. And also, I would like to thank Madame Matea Kovac for sustained attention and support in my activities. I would like to thank somebody else. This is our Alenka Ogrin, our assistant, for their time, and her colleagues. Without this assistance, this conference would not succeed. Thanks also to the colleagues from our expert council of experts, and also to the leadership of those for the understanding and support. I would like, before saying we are going downstairs, I would like to invite you once again on tomorrow concert in the City Museum. If you are here present in Ljubljana, I know you are the guests, but also others can be invited. Thank you very much for this. We will conclude this conference for the technical information. I think it will be on this topic. Thank you very much.
Stil blijft staan. En dan gaat hij altijd door de wind. Ik neem altijd een klein beetje.
Fortress, although we call it castle also, for the defense purposes. We call it castle.
The last cabin, gotcha. There we
Very nice.
I've never actually gone up there.
Drinking water. So we think that's very little for all the people, but it's not true. That's enough water for all the people on the world. But the problem is, look on this map, that on some parts